Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Play, Pause, Rewind, our 106th episode. We are back once again to talk about a TV show this time. But before that, Niles, how have you been the last 3 weeks? We took a little bit of a break there.
Yeah, we really have. It's been good. It's been a little bit of a roller coaster, but what week isn't these days?
Mm-hmm.
Got to have a nice reprieve. Go off to Canyon City, Colorado. Check out the Royal Gorge out there. It is breathtaking. It is breathtaking. If you are in Colorado or anywhere else in the U.S., I'd encourage it. It's well worth the trip, and you can ride this little train down the Royal Gorge Canyon, which is it's a lot of fun. You know, you can get kind of wine drunk on a train and just have a blast. I enjoyed myself. But yeah, it's other than that, there have been some lows, but I want to focus on the positives because this is a fun show. I like talking about fun things on this show with you. So, how have you been, Dylan?
Yeah, overall pretty good. Very, very busy. A lot going on. Work and other things. The world continues to be on fire and getting hotter. Yeah, things aren't great. Trying to focus on positives as much as possible, but feels bad, man. It feels really fucking bad. But, yeah. Don't want to dwell on it too much this week. We've done that enough in the last couple weeks, so we'll save it for next time.
Yeah.
But this week we are back talking about some more superhero stuff. We were talking about season 3 of Invincible. Niles, you want to kick us off with that?
Yes, absolutely. You know how much I love this series, so I'd love to talk about it today.
Yeah.
Season
and
3.
Before you start, actually,
Yes.
we do have episodes on both season 1 and season 2 that you can go back and watch if you're interested. Season 1 was one of our very early episodes. So
Yep. Episode 10, that was that was one of our first topics of conversation. Admire how far we've come. But yeah, season 2 was episode 85 on our podcast. So if you have not watched those seasons, or you want to hear our thoughts on what those seasons were like, please go check out those episodes. They were very fun conversations. But we're talking about season 3 this week of Invincible, and season 3 picks up, I would say, probably about a few months after the ending of season 2, in which Mark, lots of things happened, so spoilers for season 2, obviously, but Mark killed Angstrom Levy, and he gained a new little brother named Oliver and brought him back to Earth, who's actually, his Nolan's son. This whole thing, is based on the comic series by Robert Kirkman, Corey Walker, and Ryan Ottley. Season 3 enters a deadlier, darker, and bloodier phase of the series, and boy, it's gonna get rough. It's gonna get rough from here. In this season 3, Mark is busy raising his little brother with his mom, and he encounters lots of new challenges along the way, including workplace disagreements with Cecil, his boss, and several new antagonists, including a swarm of multiversal variants and an imposing Viltrumite presence. This season, like the previous one, stars lots of different voice actors, lots of very talented people: Stephen Yeun, Sandra Oh, J.K. Simmons, Walton Goggins, Zachary Quinto, Gillian Jacobs, Seth Rogen, and many, many others. Way too many to list here. There's just so many great voice actors here. Ben Schwartz, even. There's so many talented people on this show. Dylan, what are your initial thoughts on season 3?
Yeah, overall, I thought this was a really strong season. I like this show. I think it's a lot of fun and dark in the points where it needs to be. I think I didn't put it in my notes, but I think it is an interesting companion piece to something like The Boys.
Yes,
because they're both hyper-violent superhero shows, but I think The Boys takes a much more cynical approach overall than this does, which I think both work. There's a place for both, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But when I'm watching this and I'm seeing all the destruction that happens, I'm just thinking about like how Billy Butcher would feel about it and how he would kill the characters in this show. You know?
Yeah. Big time. He'd have such a vendetta against Invincible.
Yeah, but I remember too in our season 2 review, I think I said that the show was starting to feel a little too broad. Like we were focusing on way too many characters at once, and I didn't feel as much of a connection with most of them as I would have liked. But I think we really start to see the dividends of like that investment last season in this, because we see, we get a little bit more time with them now. We know them a little bit better, and we feel their struggles and loss as we go through this season. So I think while my criticism of season 2 remains, I think that was a valid point to make about that season. It ends up being a positive for this season because we really get to reap the rewards of that almost like narrative sacrifice last season. I will say too, I really enjoyed the dynamic between Cecil and Mark. I think that was one of my favorite parts of the season. On an animation front, this has been a criticism against the show from the start from a lot of people, including us. There are several moments where the animation leaves a lot to be desired. There are points where it is literally just like a still PNG of the characters moving down. I understand budget restrictions, time restraints, and all that. The main point that people make is you have this all-star cast of very expensive and high-profile actors.
Yes.
Maybe the budget should skew a little bit more towards the animation than the voice cast, but at the same time, we like on two things. One, it kind of has a little bit of a nostalgic charm. Like I'm watching a Saturday morning cartoon that is just like doing the best with the budget it has. And also everything else in the show is so good that even when the animation isn't up to par, I'm still invested. And then in the moments where they can really let loose, the animators knock it out of the park. Like that's always the thing with animation, right? It's just time and money. It's not lack of talent or lack of hard work. It's just there are constraints and they have to make decisions.
Yes,
but
totally. Yeah. Well, yeah, to your point about the animation, because like I didn't feel as strongly about the animation this season, but I will admit, there's moments where it doesn't always look flawless. It is kind of lazy at points, like you're talking about, or just like, oh, the characters are standing around and not really doing anything in this shot. That doesn't feel really realistic, and so I kind of understand those negative critiques. I will push back a little bit on it, just like you were just saying. If you want Invincible every year, you can't, unless you up the budget. You can't expect this animation to be god tier. Like this is not going to be Arcane level of animation. That is just, an entirely different style of animation. To be fair, it's entirely different. But like,
well, and there were multiple years between the seasons of Arcane as well. But I would say I'll push back on your pushing back, and it's like, yes, increase the budget. This is Amazon.
Yes, they have the money.
They have the money, exactly. Like it came out in the I forget which trade it was this last week, but like Apple is losing like $1 billion a year on their streaming content.
And oh my gosh.
Yeah, but then you look at the revenue they bring in a year, and it's like a couple $100 billion. So it's like, who gives a fuck? Like, if you're gonna be this big conglomerate who is monopolizing entire segments of our economy, burn some cash on art. you know?
Right. Exactly. You have the money to do it, and and when the animators, as the kids say, cook, they cook. It's like those last 2 episodes. Oh, they're beautiful. They're beautifully animated. You can tell they really took their sweet time with it, and they were like, "That's where we're gonna put most of the animation budget is those last 2 episodes," and I think it works. But I would like it to be a little bit better, but I'm giving them a benefit of a doubt because I really like this series.
What are some of your initial thoughts too?
So similar to you, I'm quite pleased with this season. Very impressed with the comic adaptation. If you haven't listened to this podcast before, I've read all of the Invincible comics, 1 through 173, I think it is. So, for your reference, Dylan, this is Compendium 1. Just how thick that is. That is issues 0 through 47.
Okay.
This is Compendium 2. We are finally out of the first Compendium.
Oh, okay.
We are
out of the first one. I was like, wow, we're 2/3 of the
No, we got so much left to go through. We're up to chapter 66 at this point.
Okay.
I found the
How many
spot.
chapters are there?
There's like 137.
Okay, so we're like a little under halfway through the story then.
Yeah. Or maybe there's
Okay.
more than that, but there's a lot. It's we're not even in the third compendium. We're not even halfway
Hmm.
through the second compendium. Like we're getting there, but like,
Okay.
we still got probably at least, I would say, 3 seasons of this show at least. I think I
Okay.
read online
Yeah.
that they were aiming for maybe 8, and I'm like, I don't know how you're gonna do 8 out of this, but
You think
if you
that's
want
too
to, go
many?
for it. Yeah, like
Well,
that's a
they did
lot.
say I will touch on it in spoilers too cuz I think one of the notes you have is about it, but Robert Kirkman did say that within the show they are going to include some storylines that got cut from the comic.
Good.
That might be how it extends out into 8 seasons.
Yeah,
But
I could see that. I mean, there's so much like space and Viltrum stuff that they've barely even touched at this point. So
mhm.
there's lots to go there. And, I think I said this a lot in our season 2 discussion and our season 1. Well, more season 2 cuz I hadn't read the comics by the time we did season
Right.
1, but the creators of this show are doing a phenomenal job adapting the stories from the comics into this medium. Like there's
Mhm.
some stories in these comics that are just truly awesome, that are so like actually like powerful and profound, like Powerplex. Like I think that's a really strong story arc, and I'm glad that they
Mhm.
integrated that. And there's others that are kind of just forgettable or subpar and just like, yeah, didn't you don't need to include those in the show. And they're doing a great job of like picking the right ones and then enhancing some of those most powerful storylines. Like this, I think, is a great. I said it in season 2. This is a great way, like, to adapt source material into something. Like
Yeah.
you should kind of like, if someone wants to adapt something, I think this is a great series to look at as like an example, because they're doing such a
Mhm.
good job of like picking perfect stories, embellishing them, making them even better, and then also like giving some characters um uh their time in the sun too, because there were so many characters in the comics where just like they get killed off, or they're in just like 2 comics and you never see them again, but they're
Mhm.
actually kind of cool characters. And the show, I think, is doing a really great job of bringing those people to life, those characters. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the creators being so diligent with the source material, knowing how to adapt this stuff. And yeah, the action kicks ass. The characters are well developed.
Mhm.
Storyline works really well, in my opinion. For this season, I'm really happy with it overall.
Yeah, and one thing I've seen online from people who have read the comics, I'm curious how you feel about this as well, is just that Robert Kirkman's writing of female characters specifically has vastly improved in between the time when he wrote the comic and when he's writing the show. Is that especially with regards to Debbie Grayson? From what
Yes.
she's vastly improved on her source material counterpart. So how do you feel about that, and like with her specifically or just more broadly?
I agree with that idea 100%,
Hmm.
because yeah, I think I talked about it in our season 2 discussion, but after Nolan, leaves, he commits the atrocities on Earth, like Debbie just kind of becomes an alcoholic in the books,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
she just kind of is ambient until Oliver shows up, and that kind of gives her another purpose. But she's always just kind of like a mom character. She
Got it.
doesn't really get a lot of storyline. And yeah, the comic or the show has taken it like so much further, given her so much more to
Hmm.
work with. Like, you remember last season where she was like in a superheroes anonymous group, you
Yes.
know?
And then she gets kicked out or like told to not come back because
Yeah.
she's there for a slightly different reason than everybody else.
Yeah, she's ostracized because her husband killed all those superheroes. Like, it's
Yeah.
understandable, but like,
Uh-huh.
she's just so alone in that
Hmm.
season. She's just like searching for meaning. She's just so lost, and like, I think, yeah, her character has improved dramatically, and I think Adam
Hmm.
Eve's character too. Like, we'll talk about it more in spoilers, but I think that she's really improved as well
Yeah.
as a character. Like in the comics, I think she is kind of like one note sometimes, like just kind of the
Okay.
same ish. She does have some peaks and valleys, but like we don't ever get a lot of backstory to her. We don't ever. She, we do get some backstory and stuff, and you learn more about her as a character, but like
Hmm.
nothing like what we've seen on screen in the Adam Eve special. Like which I still haven't seen. I need to watch.
Oh
that
my
stuff.
God, I was about to. You still haven't fucking watched it.
I've just seen like clips of it, and I'm like, we got nothing like that in the comics. This is
Yeah.
amazing. Like, this is so
Yeah.
good.
Well, I mean, that is one thing that like is frustrating on the animation front with her action scenes specifically. Like, if you watch
Oh yeah,
what she does in that special, and then compare it to like most of her action in the show, where it's just like pink glass wall, pink glass wall, pink glass wall. It's like
yeah,
she's capable of so many more interesting things, but the budget is probably being skewed towards Mark. He's the protagonist, so he's
yeah,
getting the majority
exactly.
of the animation budget, which is fine.
And then I mean, like with characters like Ray in this
Mhm.
show, you know, we'll talk about her more too, but like just giving that whole character um, so much more of an arc and so much more of a story is
Yeah.
awesome. I'm so happy to see that. And then even like
Mhm.
Amber, I think like she's not really in this season very much. She's kind of more of a background character now, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I like her overall, but like I think when I she is so much better in the show than she is in the comics. Like
Mhm.
in the comics, she is kind of one dimensional character, and then in the show here, it's like, no, you're actually very intelligent. You know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. You can like kind of navigate the world, and yeah, you're so much smarter than your comic counterpart.
Well, and I think you said in the season 2 episode that she does kind of just disappear from the comic after they break up, and we were wondering if they were going to include her at all going forward, and it seems like they found a way to work her in a way that doesn't feel inorganic. And we'll talk about it more in spoilers, but one other thing I'll say in non-spoilers before we move on is just thank you for not doing the mid-season break again.
Yes.
I don't know. Like, I just remember how damaging that was to the season's flow in season 2. And yeah, you know, release your TV shows week to week. It works better.
It's so much
It
better.
gets everybody in the right headspace. They're talking week to week. And then, yeah, you get the full season experience. But any closing non-spoiler thoughts before we transition over?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I'll just say is like I remember when they did like the season 3 teas, like how they kind of got those where it's in the Burger Mart. Like the show's also self-aware in that way, because they were like, Cecil's talking to him and he's like, we were so happy about the 3-month break you took in between. Like that really panned out well. It's like, they get it. They're not going to make that mistake again. But yeah, I think it's time to jump into spoilers.
Alrighty, let's do it. Yeah, so let's start with the Mark versus Cecil conflict. This was some of the most engaging stuff in the season for me. I think it's a really interesting dynamic to explore in this genre. So do you want to dive into what it is, sort of?
Yeah, let's just recap it. So Mark and Cecil, they start off season 3 working together to protect Earth and make Mark stronger. Like he's putting him through a training regimen. He's lifting weights. You know, he's got a fitness routine to bulk up and become, you know, the hero, the champion of Earth that he needs to be. But then I think like within that same episode, like I think that first episode, Mark learns that, oh, Cecil's working with DA Sinclair and he's working with Darkwing, which are these two antagonists from previous seasons that were killing people, you know, and it drives this wedge in their working relationship. Mark ultimately decides that, you know, he can't work with Cecil because Cecil's working with murderers and he can't trust him anymore at this point. And this eventually leads Mark to change his costume to a sleek new blue black outfit, you know, new chapter, everything like that. But this conflict, I think, is a pretty central driving force for the season, especially the first half. And I think it is kind of, it's a great conflict because there's a lot of different perspectives at play here, not just with Mark and Cecil, but like also like exterior people, like the Guardians of the Globe. It kind of affects them. It's actually pretty great because I think you can understand both perspectives pretty easily and clearly here. You know, Mark is, you know, he's kind of approaching this from a moralistic high ground of just, murder's bad, killing's bad, you know, anyone who murders should be locked up, and it's logical. It's a very logical, heroic perspective, and I think most people will agree with that perspective, especially if you're a Batman fan. Yeah, that's kind of his whole MO, just don't kill. But I
Mm-hmm.
think Mark's perspective also has like these situational blinders on as well, and it's kind of myopic in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's what is it? There is one element that I think of Cecil's argument that I understand why his character is saying it, and it makes total sense. It's like what it was like we can be the good guys, or we can what
You
is the line?
you can either be a good person or save the world. You can't be both.
Yeah,
And
and I think that's appropriate for that character's belief set. I think it's a load of horseshit, but it feels like because that's like way too cynical of an outlook. But I do appreciate like again, it's appropriate for the character. I'm not. It's not
yes,
a bad characterization or anything. I will say too, this does tie in with one element of the show, which is just a little funny, is that because we're American, we live in today. It's remarkably uncritical of the Pentagon and everything that the American government does.
yes.
I'm sorry, I just have to make a note of that. It's and that
Oh,
was some
absolutely.
yeah, that was like talking about The Boys earlier too. I saw somewhere online someone was like, The Boys is written by someone who grew up outside of America and maybe experienced America more from that perspective.
The
And
oppressor. Yeah.
Invincible is written from someone who grew up in the United States and maybe is a little bit less critical of the American institutions because
yeah.
you know, it's fine. It doesn't matter for the purposes of the show, but it is very funny.
yeah. It's
I
it's yeah, I agree with you there.
I did appreciate where we get Cecil's flashbacks though, and we kind of see that he used to have the same perspective as Mark.
hmm
Um, didn't want to work with like these people who had done wrong, and then he is put in a situation where he like excels in this rehabilitative environment and then sort of grows up a little bit. And I do think
Yeah.
I think Cecil takes it to a much far too cynical degree, but there is an element of growing up where it's like, look, yeah, people do bad shit, but that doesn't mean they are evil or forever
hmm
bad. People can change. I have some issues with
Yes.
Cecil necessarily considers rehabilitation. It
yeah.
seems more like forced labor, but
E-
whatever.
exactly, and that's something I wanted to talk about too. Because yeah, I do understand Cecil's perspective. Like
Mhm.
I can understand Mark, and I think a lot of people will agree with Mark that it's kind of wrong to be working with these people who have done these horrible
Mhm.
things. But Cecil, I think you got to understand his perspective. Like you were
Yeah.
just saying, he there's a possibility that Earth could be like decimated by thousands of supermen at any moment, and
Mhm.
there's also plenty of supervillains on Earth already who want to take it over and kill everybody. And there's also the possibility that that Mark might turn evil
Mike.
too, turn on them. Who knows? You
Yeah.
kind of have to plan for every eventuality. So he
Mhm.
does need every available asset to protect the Earth, to keep order. And yeah, like I loved that we got this backstory on Cecil too, because it's not really in the comics at all, or at least if it
Mm.
is, I don't remember it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that line from the flashback because it does kind of frame his character entirely. You can either be a good
Mhm.
person or save the world, and to him, it is this choice of like it's kind of like it kind of reminded me of Luthen a little bit from Andor, where he's
Mhm.
like, I'm doomed to like use the weapons of my enemy to destroy them.
Yeah.
Kind of like I have to be this pragmatic realist who understands the world and uses the tools that are available to me to
Mhm.
protect people, to save the people, and keep order. And in my opinion, in this situation, I feel like Cecil is very much in the right. you know, there's
Yeah. I mean,
there's there's
from
this
his
potential.
perspective, like he's an ant
Yes.
on a planet of ants, and he has to protect. Like he has to like construct an infrastructure that can protect the ant colony from like
Yeah.
Zeus.
Mm-hmm.
It's
That's
not
a
a
good way
it's
to
not
put
a
it.
fair fight.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking because you mentioned Batman earlier in the no killing concept. What's very interesting though is comic book Batman
Mm-hmm.
has contingencies on how to kill every member of the Justice League should they go bad
Right. Right.
because he is a normal guy and he cannot, like there is an adventure, and I think in the comics that goes horribly, horribly wrong. I think like a villain steals the contingencies or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think so.
But it's like, yeah, there are problems with doing that, and I think they call Batman out for that. But also, like, what are you gonna do, man? If like one of these people does go bad, they could level a city block in half an hour. We see
Yeah.
in season one, Nolan goes away for like an evening and destroys an entire planet.
Yeah. He goes off and commits a genocide and then isn't back in time for supper.
Yeah.
It's so fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like, you do understand Cecil's perspective, but it is a fucked up kind of situation, and I think it kind of opens up this bigger discussion, like you were just alluding to a little bit ago, about rehabilitation and penance. I think,
Yeah.
more rehabilitation, I would say, but yeah, it's like I think there is like this question that you got to pose when you're watching this season of like, what is truly better? Is it better to incarcerate all these individuals for their entire lives and use taxpayer money, resources to keep them alive, just incarceration in perpetuity after committing a few crimes? Or is it better to put those skills and abilities to work for the betterment of society? And I don't want to sound like I'm advocating for slave labor here, because I don't want to. But
Yeah.
in this unique situation, it does kind of make more sense to put these people to work in a way that rehabilitates them and lets them do their time in a more constructive way.
Yeah.
But
And the nuance that I think my issue with the way it plays out in the show and how it plays into rehabilitation is like, because like we do that in America. It ties into the slavery, like American slavery, and just like for those of you who don't know, the inception of the modern policing system in America and the prison system is comes from the amendment that ended slavery, left in a provision that said, except in instances of like incarceration. So when police departments were forming in the Reconstruction era, they would deliberately go out and like arrest black people to put them in the prison system so that they could legally enslave them. And the way, like, it's just a history lesson for those who don't know. That is a thing that happened. It is expressly in the like charters of those early police departments. You can look it up. You can read it for yourself. But the way rehabilitation is supposed to work is like someone does their time for a crime and they are socially rehabilitated during that intent to reintegrate them into society, not to keep them as like a laborer indefinitely, which is what is doing. Like, he has no intention of releasing D.A. Sinclair at any point in time. Like, he's going to keep him in there. And that's not rehabilitation. That's slavery. That's something else.
It is fucked up. And yeah, because I think that the two characters that they're presented here, they're very different from each other too. Because I think Darkwing too, you can tell, I think, that he wants to help people and he understands the mistakes he made.
Yes.
He wants to carry out the legacy of his predecessor. So it's like, yeah, if he's got these abilities, he could be an asset and you could keep him under close supervision. So that one feels like an easy, okay, plug and play, put him in, coach. But then D.A. Sinclair is like a much harder sell because it's like, he's just creating super soldiers, and that's it, from dead bodies, basically. And it's like, ooh, that's kind of, there's a lot of ethical and moral boundaries that you're crossing there, dude.
Yeah. But I mean, that plays into the real life conversation about the justice system, because it is supposed to be rehabilitative for everybody. And the idea is to reintegrate everybody into sight. Like that's what it's supposed to be, and it's a hard. Like the worse the person's crime, the harder that pill is to swallow. But that is supposed to be the intent of the
Mm-hmm.
system, which is why justice is supposed to be blind. You know, like if someone did a horrible crime to your family member, you don't necessarily want them to be free. But justice means if they serve their time, they get to be a free person again. That's how it's supposed to work. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but also with Darkwing 2, correct me if I'm misremembering, but like he killed people, but he was still like he was more a victim of circumstance, wasn't he? Like the city he was in just completely descended into
Oh
chaos,
yeah.
kind of like put in a situation where he almost had to fight that way or
Yeah, I can't remember everything from that episode, but yeah, I mean that whole city is just like, the Invincible universe's parallel of Gotham, just this
mm-hmm.
city that's perpetually in the cover of night. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
why anyone would ever choose to live in that city because it seems like such a shitty place to live. But yeah, like there's no one there keeping order, and then yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Mark gets called in because Darkwing 2 is taking matters into his own hands. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he's protecting civilians, he's killing people as he sees fit, which isn't great.
Yeah.
That is absolutely a crime.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it is.
I feel like that city being like because it's in like a dome of darkness, isn't it? It
Yeah,
just has.
yeah,
I feel like that's a joke, right? Like it's making poking fun at the fact that like all so much Batman
hundred
action
percent.
happens at night. Like it's funny.
Yeah, it's like this
But
curse of eternal darkness or something. Like,
yeah. But I think too this idea and this conflict, the way it comes into being, it's like because we see the incredible amounts of devastation that these superhero fights
yes.
cause, like on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this really brings into focus an important storytelling thing in this genre, which is you as a writer or a filmmaker or whatever, you need to decide what angle of superhero story you're going for up front and
Mm-hmm.
showcase collateral damage accordingly. If we like because there's I'd say a similar thing about like control of superheroes and supervision and stuff like that in the Marvel Civil War movie,
Yeah.
but that like we feel a lot differently about it in that movie because like the heroes don't really cause collateral damage in the MCU for the most part, except for the Hulk. Sometimes it's like they're doing their best actively to prevent it, and it
Yes.
happens less. Um, whereas in this, it's like, oh, they kind of do just punch each other through skyscrapers a lot, and people die anytime two of these guys fight. Um, and it's like, and I'd say maybe that level of collateral damage isn't appropriate for your Superman movie.
Yeah,
I don't
maybe.
know. Maybe
Yeah.
drawing a 9/11 parallel in your Superman movie gives the wrong vibe.
Yeah. Yeah, that did happen, didn't that?
Yeah. Although they do like lean into it a little bit in Batman v Superman, a movie I don't think is very good, but they do like roll with the punches in it. But maybe don't do that in the movie where your hero is supposed to be a symbol of hope. And he's in like the fallout of like a fist fight nuke.
Yeah, just decimating everybody.
Bodies
It's
being like,
brutal.
lifted up and slammed into the ground by the Falcon. It's so
Over and over and over again. And then we had
I
to watch it
remember
again
wa-
when we saw the Flash.
I remember watching that movie in theaters. And I
Hmm.
liked it for a while. And then it got to that part where the bodies are being like lifted and slammed to the ground and I'm just sitting there like, "Oh my god."
Oh no, this isn't good.
this is this is so upsetting.
There's a lot of problems here. Oh, brother.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, what Cecil's doing, yeah, is it really rehabilitation? It's not really. He
Mhm.
kind of frames it that way, that
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
rehabilitation, but it's, yeah, like you said, it's just kind of inde- indefinite indentured servitude,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's you get it to a degree, but there's also lots of problems with it, and I think one of the biggest problems was just Cecil's stupid fucking mistake at the end of the series, or at the end of the season. Jumping ahead here, he keeps the Viltrum antagonists alive, Conquest, and allows him to heal. It's a stupid decision, but it's understandable. I understand why he did it, because at this point at time he has next to no information about Viltrum. He doesn't know how many Viltrumites are left. He doesn't know how to beat them. He's like, I need whatever information I can get, so I'm going to try and keep this one alive to get that information.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's the right decision.
Yeah. Nah, it's not.
Yeah. But yeah, like one other thing I'll say before we move on is that on this topic, I liked how the conflict between Mark and Cecil kind of snowballed into affecting the Guardians of the Globe here too, because like in the first episode it's like, okay, all the Guardians are back, there's a full force, everyone's back, we got Duplicate, everyone's all healed up, we're ready, we're full force again, and then all it takes is one workplace disagreement to like to splinter them up again. There's some that were like, oh yeah, I'm ready to just jump in and help Mark, like they were the homies protecting his back, but then you kind of see how these like internal struggles that with authority and decision making that are affecting not just Mark and Cecil but other people too. I like seeing those kind of the ripple effect.
Right, because Cecil does like take it further than just the like bots. He puts that thing in Mark that can disable him. Which is another precaution that Cecil is taking, which is understandable from his perspective, but also like from everybody else. It's like, dude, what the fuck? This guy's done nothing but help, and you put a like sonic bomb in his neck.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that part is not great.
Yeah, and one thing I liked about this too, though, is that this disagreement causes them to not work with each other and not like each other, really, for the rest of the season. But they still both recognize that ultimately they're on the same side. Like, when the Guardians of the Globe are in danger, Mark will help. When Mark is in danger, other heroes help. Cecil will send resources to, like, take care of the family and stuff like that. Because it's like this artificially drawn-out period of them, like, undermining each other or trying to fuck each other over. Because that's not what this is. This is like a philosophical disagreement between people on the same side of a conflict. And I think that was, a lot of stories would do that differently, where they'd have them like fight a couple times and stuff like that. And Mark fucks up the Pentagon every now and then, but it's got to be done sometimes.
You got to go in there and like kill a few Reanimen every now and then. It's just.
You know how many audits they have failed, the Pentagon? All of them. They've never passed an audit.
Oh my goodness. Come on, guys. What are you doing there?
No, the last time they got audited, they literally couldn't account for half of the money they had gotten.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I am not.
Where is it going?
To mercenary groups, probably, and private contractors.
Yeah, that adds up.
Yeah. But Oliver, this character, fascinated me this season. I was on edge with him the entire time. I like waiting for him to rip somebody's head off, because like I just felt like there's this moment where he's gonna snap, because he doesn't fucking get the boundaries or following the rules or any of the like rules of conduct that Mark operates on. And also, my God, him picking Omni-Man's symbol and name for his. I was like, dude, it's so insensitive.
Kid Omni-Man. It's like, oh no. It's like, it's like, I'm trying to think of like a real world equivalent of that, and the only thing I can think of is just like naming yourself after like the people who did 9/11 or something, like that's the only thing I can think of. But that would be, no one's gonna go for that.
Captain Al-Qaeda.
Yeah, right. I think I'm gonna name my son Al-Qaeda. But yeah, he's.
Well, remember when they had to change the name of the spy agency in Archer because it was named ISIS?
They're like, quick, we gotta pivot.
Yeah, they made him part of the CIA. Much better.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that at all. It is totally fine. Yeah, Oliver's such a fascinating character. He's
Mm-hmm.
fucked up, and um, if I'm remembering right from the comics, those bug people, they remember everything from their birth. Like as soon as they're born, they start
Oh,
forming memories. So
mm.
like I've seen like theories online that it's like Oliver remembers Mark protecting him on
Got it.
the alien planet. Like he's got such this affinity for his brother.
Mm-hmm.
But like through it, like you're right though. He's kind of like this version of Brightburn, but he's a better version. He's not like evil Superman. He's
Mm-hmm.
he just doesn't kind of fully grasp the social norms
Yeah.
of human culture and like morality and like just how we prefer to dish out justice in a
Yeah.
way. um
He kind of reminds me of like a Damian Wayne. You know?
yeah, yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point. hmm and like I was just rereading just like a few of these comics before we hopped
Mm-hmm.
on, and like one thing that I think that they're downplaying in the show right now, but
Mm-hmm.
it's so prevalent in the comics, is like Mark really takes on this big brother role, like this mentor
Mm-hmm.
role to Oliver, and he treats Oliver like a kid all the time. But
Yeah.
like his species, they have, like I said, memories since birth.
Mm-hmm.
They retain information incredibly well. Like you could tell him the periodic chart of elements one time and he'll remember it for the rest of his life. He's so
Mm-hmm.
smart. And like in the comics, Mark is like always treating him like a younger brother, underestimating him, and just kind of like talking down to him in a way.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that they're doing a better job
Okay.
with the family dynamics here in
Mm-hmm.
this season. But yeah, man, when he comes across the Mahler twins, that's just like, whew, that was a jaw dropping moment in the comics
Mm-hmm.
and on screen. That was just brutal.
Yeah. Like
Because
part of
he's,
me is sad because I really enjoyed that character dynamic between the two twins, and I guess
I
they're
know,
now. But
they're so fun. But yeah, they're gone now. And like you could see that like Oliver is like well intentioned. He was like, I'm just here to
mm-hmm.
protect my brother, and kind of stop the bad guys. But like he doesn't
Yeah.
fully understand his own strength. He doesn't
Mm-hmm.
like understand why he shouldn't have killed them for a little bit. He's like, they were bad guys. I stopped them. Like, come on. He doesn't really show any
Yeah.
remorse for his actions at the moment. Like, he's still got
Mm-hmm.
a lot of growing up humanly
Right.
to do.
Yeah. I love the part too where they're like having him train a little bit, and the villain he's fighting like realizes that he's just being used as like a practice run, and he's really offended by it.
I would be too.
Yeah.
Oh.
But let's talk about the main, like, I guess, romantic thrust of the season, which is Mark and Adam Eve. This, I feels like, was kind of set up as far back as the pilot of the show, and it's
Mhm.
coming into its own here. Yeah, it seemed like this was the relationship that was always going to happen, and it's kind of nice that it's playing out. But
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm happy to see it finally kind of moving on screen. And yeah, there was like some moments, especially when they first started dating, where it kind of feels like this teenage relationship that's moving way too fast. And then
mm-hmm.
they kind of acknowledge it to themselves on screen too, where they're like, we don't need to move in together just yet. We don't need to like find an apartment. We can take
Yeah.
our time here. And at other times, like I feel like they're strong emotions that they're kind of showing to each other. They feel totally earned. They feel totally
Mm-hmm.
genuine. Like I think it is really powerful, and I like them as a couple. And no hate on Amber at all. I liked Amber too, but Adam and Eve and
Yeah.
Mark, 100% ship.
Yeah, no, and I like the way the show played it out too. Like,
hmm
I mean, in most superhero fiction, or maybe not most, but a lot of it, like Superman has Lois Lane, and a lot of other characters have non superhero partners, and it works fine in those stories. But again, comparing those to like this, it's like the show goes to lengths to tell you why that last relationship is a little dangerous, you
hmm
know, and it's like it's fine. It was a good relationship for them until it very suddenly was not, and it just became like a liability, and Amber almost died. So
Yep.
it's like it in this specific world with how like horrific the violence is. Like, yeah,
Hmm. And
well-known superheroes dating civilians is like probably much more dangerous.
100% like Huey in The Boys is always in danger, but and I'm glad in the whole story of their first date that they showed on
Hmm.
screen here, like that's exactly how it happens in the comics, where they go on a first date and then Mark has to go to the future really quick to
Yeah.
kill King Immortal, and I think that's fucking great. I like how they adapted that in to the storyline like that. That was
Hmm.
really really cool. I liked that.
Yeah. One thing at the very end of the season, I just want to know, like, no spoilers or anything, but like their clothes that were on the floor seemed to like start glowing, or like we're in a puddle of something. Is that something that's teasing a future event, or was that just like a weird animation decision?
I think that was just an animation decision. Like, I think just
Okay.
maybe like the way that I'm interpreting it, my headcanon is that Eve is like distracted by the end of her like atomizing or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
so she just doesn't fully atomize it correctly. And that kind of creates the spillage. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, she doesn't get the chemical properties left or right. Or I don't know. It's, I wouldn't
Yeah.
read into that too much.
Okay. Yeah, I was just like, I couldn't tell if it was something I was supposed to focus on because, like, she basically fucking dies briefly and then is I don't know what
Hmm.
happened exactly, but she reforms, and I was like, oh, is
Oh,
this teasing a consequence for her power that we are going to have to deal with later on, or is it just something else?
maybe.
Oh,
Maybe. Like I could see that being something. But also to your point when we started talking about this episode, and women, like his like the job that
mm-hmm.
they've been doing with writing the women characters, the female characters in this show. Um,
Yeah.
kudos to them with Eve's character because in the comics, like I said earlier, she kind of does feel one note, but here
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of like, no, she should go take some architecture classes, and she should like kind of have this like
Mm-hmm.
emotional like internal battle about like or this internal grief about the thing that she did in the second season where she was kind of responsible for that playground collapsing
Right.
and like
Mm-hmm.
hurting all those people in Chicago or whatever. Like she's having kind of these logical progressive steps
Mm-hmm.
for her character development, like going to college and like moving back in with her parents and trying to find like this relationship with her parents, like that weren't always super present in the comics. So I'm
Okay.
glad to be seeing some of these stories take shape
Yeah.
here.
But my God, is her dad repulsive? Just what a horrible,
Yeah,
horrible
he's a
man.
shitbag.
um. Yeah, and one other thing to just sort
Hmm.
of thing about this show, not specific to Adam Eve, but like every character really that
Oh,
I have a problem with in the action scenes is I don't ever really know what people's power levels are in comparison to each other. Like I'm not
mm-hmm.
sure how like because Mark gets the shit kicked out of him a lot, and I'm just never really sure. Is this a moment where he's about to die, or are they just going to be able to fix this? And this is the same with every character. Um, Not every character, but most characters. It's just like I'm never quite sure what level of tension to feel at a given time because it's just, hard to tell. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, it is kind of it varies there with the power levels and like yeah, what
Mm-hmm.
everyone's individual superhero powers are, like what they can do. I think that is kind of one of the things that starts to become a little muddy in the comics too as time goes on.
Yeah.
Where, yeah, like to your point, it's like all of a sudden during Invincible War, these superheroes who were in the background for the longest time can suddenly kill Invincible. Like, what? Like, it becomes a little weird like that. But,
Mm-hmm.
it's you have to kind of like roll with the punches. I think with superhero
Yeah.
comics and media, it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's never going to be as realistic as you want it to be.
Yeah.
Um,
And I guess it varies in all
yeah,
superhero media. Like Captain America is able to fucking fight Thanos briefly in Infinity War and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. It's not a big deal, I guess, but it's like does get confusing on like what I'm supposed to feel when it looks like I've just watched Adam Eve get her like head blown to pieces and then she's not dead. I don't
Yeah.
know. It pulls me back and forth a little bit emotionally, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Kind of pulls you out in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think like Rexplode is kind of a good example of that too, because like
Mm-hmm.
his powers are never that clear, but it's like, oh, he can ignite things and make them explode. But like
Mm-hmm.
then they kind of have like these different levels of like explosivity, I suppose. Like
Yeah.
I wish that was kind of better explained. Like why is his skeleton more like explosive than like something else? Like I don't fully get it, but
Yeah.
I don't need to get it, I suppose.
Yeah, it works for the scene though. So like you said, it's just you kind of got to
Hmm.
roll with the punches a little bit, and emotionally, it works in that moment that it needs to. And that does tie into like Rexplode and shrinking Ray and the Invincible War as well. It's like yeah, but you want to talk about Rexplode a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's talk about him a little bit. And I mean, yeah, I knew that that his death was coming the entire season,
Mm-hmm.
because I read the comics. I knew it was
Yeah.
coming. I knew that was going to be a character that they were going to kill off, and it was going to be emotionally heart wrenching,
Mm-hmm.
devastating. And they definitely did start to telegraph this throughout season three, pretty on the nose. But also, I don't know if you caught this, Dylan, in season two, but
Mm-hmm.
when the portal opens and the team comes out to bring Mark back to reality, um, Adam Eve refers to a robot as Rex in that moment,
Mm.
and that's kind of like a moment when I knew inside I'm like, oh, it's coming. It's
Yeah.
coming. They've committed at this point. He's gonna die. Like there's no other way they're gonna do this.
Mm-hmm.
But it was it's devastating because I think his character had so much excellent character development this season and last season too. Like Rex,
Mm-hmm.
when we first met him, he's like such a piece of shit. Like he cheats on Adam Eve. He's so cocky. He's kind
Mm-hmm.
of just so belligerent in a lot of ways. And I think his relationship with Ray, as it gradually develops over season three, it's very heartwarming, and I think it's thoughtfully
Mm-hmm.
done, and it adds this emotional weight to both of them, not just him. But it's like
Right.
you feel for them because they're just trying to figure out their way in this kind of
Mm-hmm.
lonely world where they're just like constantly having near death experiences and then rebuilt. And it's like at a certain point, I think you're going to get to a question of like, am I becoming more like Donald? Just
Yeah.
like 100% robot.
You're a ship of Theseus conundrum at that point.
Hmm. Yeah, ship of Theseus. Um,
Yeah.
and I think like in the comics too, Ray, she was a he in the comics. It was just this
Oh, okay.
guy, so they gender swapped her coming into the show. But
Mm-hmm.
Ray originally gets killed by the Lizard League, and is quickly forgotten about. Like they don't even really mention Ray at like the funeral. Like they move
Mm-hmm.
on so quickly, and I'm so glad that they kept Ray around this in the
Mm-hmm.
series in the show, um, and especially because I think that their relationship added a ton to Rex's character, made me even sadder to see him go. And I think Ray's a great character too. Like I'd like to see her return next season. I think
Mm-hmm.
that it was refreshing to see a hero realize that their career is only going to end one way, and you got to accept that the only way to avoid that ending is quitting, or just
Mm-hmm.
drastically changing your life. And um, it'll be interesting to see how she re-enters the picture, if she's just going to continue being civilian or say, no, I need to actually do my part.
Yeah. And like you said too, Rex's death very telegraphed in the season, but I feel like that was intentional as well. Like it's being built up to. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a subtle thing. It's like he starts, oh, he's cooking dinner for her, and
Yeah.
he's being a super nice guy, and he's being really introspective
Hmm.
about himself and his growth. It's like, oh, he's so fucking dead. Oh my god. And I did not.
Oh, he's toast. Yeah.
Yeah, I did not pick up on the fact that older Eve called Robot Rex last season, but I wasn't thinking about it as much back then. Another plot line we get
Yeah.
though, the space side of things, the outer space side with Nolan and Alan. Space. um,
Space.
but I thought all this stuff was great. I really loved like Nolan kind of surrendering himself to this fate and basically telling Alan to leave him behind. I love how the Viltrumites cannot figure out how to kill Alan
Hmm.
at all. They just keep building bigger and bigger lasers, and nothing fucking works. It's great. And then Nolan finally snaps out of it to, I guess, save Alan. That's what causes him to fight back, right? Alan acted like he was
Hmm.
was gonna die.
Yeah. I like that. Like how he did that kind of that way of tricking Nolan into helping
Hmm.
him in a way.
Yeah.
But I also they got like this buddy cop dynamic
Hmm.
forming between them too, which is kind of fun to watch. And I like that we got the return of Battle Beast as well. Oh boy.
Where did we see Battle Beast before? Remind me.
So that was in season 1 in Machine Head's place. He got like all those villains together and they just
Okay,
beat the shit out of Invincible and the
got it.
Guardians
Okay.
and
Hmm.
the Rock guy.
The Rock guy who's like Lex Luthor. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
like.
guy.
Yeah, I like the Rock Lex Luthor guy. I think he's an interesting character to have around, and I guess
Hmm.
maybe Lex Luthor and more Wilson Fisk. I don't know, but it's fine. Um,
Oh
but yeah,
yeah,
I,
I could see that.
I I will say too, and also just for those of you listening to the episode, we are noticing a little bit of a delay as we're recording this. We're doing the best we can with that, but if it gets
Hmm.
hopefully it doesn't get any worse, hopefully it gets better. I will say too that the only
Yeah,
disappointment I had on
hopefully.
this side of the story is that I wish we got a bit more from them, as they do kind of disappear in the second half of the season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was a little odd. I wish they were kind of more consistent throughout
Mm-hmm.
with it because they're
Yeah.
great characters. I like them a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am really interested to see how all this stuff in outer space eventually comes to a head with the characters on Earth, though, because I have to imagine eventually all of these storylines are going to collide, and there'll be some awkward reunions,
Oh yeah,
at least.
just you wait. There's more shit coming.
All right. Invincible War.
Ooh, Invincible War. I was dancing around this event in our last few Invincible conversations because I was like, this is coming. I know it's coming. This is going to be a
Mm-hmm.
ground shattering moment for our characters. And I didn't want to spoil it at all, especially like at the end of season 2, where it was just like, I knew that Angstrom Levy was still alive. And I was like, I can't say anything. I can't say anything. I can't say anything. I don't want to spoil this because this is going to be so good.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, oh boy, it did not disappoint me. The events of Invincible War are incredibly accurate to the comics. There's
Mm-hmm.
just a handful of variations where they're just kind of like swapping in like a character or like changing like who they're fighting or where they're fighting or something like that. But it's pretty on the
Mm-hmm.
nose or pretty on the mark, excuse me. Um, for instance, in the comics, there is an Invincible variant fighting Spawn.
Ah.
Spawn. It's like the it's so weird. But he's in there. He's fighting him, and like he's
Mm-hmm.
like, I killed you once, I'll kill you again, kind of vibe. But they removed that from the show for I think probably pretty obvious reasons. Don't want to get hit with a copyright
Mm-hmm.
lawsuit. And then they added in some of these extra superheroes who fought in the show, like kind of in the background before, like
Mm-hmm.
are not really present in the comics. But yeah, there's like some that like I did not I didn't see in the comics at all. Like I don't like that little business baby guy with the green monster. Like he's not in the comics as far as I know. He's just like I don't know why they added him in, but it's just become a funny meme that I see online a lot of just
Yeah.
that baby getting squashed.
Yeah.
It's I really liked the Invincible War. I think it's lines up pretty well with what happened in the comics. I think my only negative thought on the whole sequence would just be the amount of action that we saw with the variants themselves. Like I personally would have liked to see the whole fight sequence between that Invincible variant and the Guardians of the Globe. Like just seeing their combat, like it feels like there's more post action shots, or just like little snippets of like a fight from the carnage. That's just kind of what they were focusing on, not so much the action itself. And I think that was pretty intentional, because I think
maybe budget related too in some cases.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's also kind of about showing the devastation and the consequences of Mark's conflict with Angstrom. It's like I think it kind of plays into the debate that we were kind of talking about a little bit earlier about the killing rule. Like, is it okay to kill? When is it okay to kill? Whatever. Mark thought he killed Angstrom, but he somehow survived, and Mark's reluctance, I guess you could call it, to fully kill him and others, I would say too, it continuously puts other people in danger. On the one hand, Mark and other heroes, they don't have a right. They really don't have the right to take lives of other people and be judge, jury, and executioner simultaneously. However, leaving characters like Angstrom or the Mahler twins alive puts a lot of lives at risk, and all the other Invincible variants, they had no issue killing others, but our Mark does, and I think that's a central part of his character and what truly makes him invincible. But like, this is all kind of all the events of the Invincible War are a consequence of Mark's actions, whether he realizes it or not.
Yeah, well, and not to keep going back to Batman, but that is always the thing I see people say about like, how many people have died because Batman won't fucking kill the Joker? Like it's like he keeps getting out and he keeps killing more people. Yeah. But with Angstrom too, it's interesting because like I remember Mark thinking he'd killed Angstrom, and that guy looked really fucking dead, like so dead. And that is
he did.
That is my one negative about the Invincible War, or maybe I've 1.5, is that moment in season 2 was really impactful, and it was really devastating. That like I thought you were stronger. Like he didn't recognize that he would kill this guy. And that is, the punch of that is a little bit pulled now because he didn't. It almost lets him off the hook in one way while it causes consequences in another way. But it's still great, and it's such a devastating like series of events. My only other half criticism is I feel like this is like a post-apocalyptic story that could go on for a little bit longer. Is it this quick in the comic too? Because it's like fast.
The Invincible War, it's like 3, maybe 5 days, something like that. Like it's very, very quick. It's pretty close to how they showed it in the show.
Okay. Yeah, so it's more about the effect it'll have on the story going forward than the war itself, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I mean, I think kind of what I was saying earlier too is like this is all like consequences, and I think like what they're really trying to show is that like Mark didn't directly kill these people or cause all this devastation during the war, but you could make the argument that he's indirectly killed them through his actions in previous seasons and by not ensuring Angstrom was fully dead. But he looked pretty dead, like you were saying. Like it's really tough to make that call, but like it's like I was thinking about this a lot earlier today, but like Powerplex is right to a certain degree. Like
Yeah.
Invincible keeps getting away with being indirectly um, contributing to all this destruction and devastation and death, and he has to live with that
Yeah.
every day. But it's like he can't keep doing this. He can't keep getting away with this.
I know. I was just laughing if they like because Powerplex is Aaron Paul, and that's the he can't keep getting away with it meme. I was waiting for you to finish talking to interject with that. But yeah, it's he is right. It's like he gets away with such bullshit, and Powerplex calls it like he's talking to his coworker. It's like, what other fucking person, if they flew into the Pentagon, would be able to walk out? Like, what the fuck? And it is kind of true. But the other
It is, yeah, and it's devastating.
yeah, and the other thing too with the Invincible War is like the consequences. Like you were saying, even though Mark did not kill all of these people, people who are also Mark did, and you just know that if you're like a person living in this world, you're gonna forever look at Invincible differently because someone who looks exactly like him, like put their hand through your wife's chest or something and killed your whole family. Like your relationship with this specific hero is forever changed, even if you rationally understand it wasn't him. It kind of was, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you're never gonna be able to dissociate. Yeah, the carnage that the variants caused from him as a character. No matter how much good he does, for your
Yep.
lifetime, you're always gonna remember him as the person who destroyed your city, destroyed your family. Like he ruined his reputation. And good job, Angstrom Levy, I guess.
Yeah. I do like too that Angstrom just fucking leaves all the variants in that post-apocalyptic desert thing. He just brings them all there and leaves them. That the Invincible War leads directly into the arrival of Conquest, voiced by Jeffrey Dean Morgan. It's a little bit of a little Walking Dead callback, I suppose, with voice actors from who have a very, very notable interaction in the TV show The Walking Dead, I'd say.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Negan versus Glenn rematch. Let's fucking go. This is what we've been waiting for.
Look, hold on. Negan versus Glenn. It's Glenn versus Lucille, if anything.
You're right. You're very right there. Yeah, this is such a this is where the animation budget went, and it really shows because they worked overtime on this fight is breathtaking. It's so fucking epic. Like, I mean, I've just been seeing like this one clip recirculating on my feed over and over again of just like that Mark with his hair in the wind after he gets punched through the building, like he's like struggling to stand up, and it's like it's flopping all over, and it's like there was more work put into that like sequence just right there than like some of these other scenes in the show. Like they put so much work into that to show his hair fluttering in the wind, and it's fucking beautiful is what it is. It's epic. It's so great. This fight, I was literally just reading this comic before we hopped on, because this fight sequence, it takes place over like 3 or 4 comics. It is that long of a fight. And it's like, I mean, it hits all those big moments, like he kills Adam Eve and all this other kind of stuff happens. Like he almost kills Oliver. Like there's a lot that happens, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
why
I thought Oliver was fucked, man. I thought he was cooked.
Yeah. Yeah, ripped apart like Iron Man. Yeah.
That's another great animated moment in the fight, though, is when Oliver first comes in. It's like a great splash page shot where his hair is kind of flooding in the wind. He has like a little swing. Through the air. It's a great shot.
So great. The big ass fucking beatdown coming.
Yeah, but I also love and was this in the comic or was this an edition where Conquest is like leaning in? It's like, I don't even have a fucking name. I'm so lonely. They don't they just send me to places like this to do this shit. really interesting.
Yeah, I can't remember if that line exactly of him being lonely is in there, but yeah, he basically tells Mark all of that. Just like, this is who I am. I go from
Mhm.
planet to planet and I conquer. That is
Mhm.
it. I don't do anything else. And it's like, that's so much of the dialogue, so much of the fight sequence itself is just pulled
Mhm.
directly from the comics. Like, there's moments where they enhanced it, like when
Mhm.
Oliver comes in and he smacks him, and then he just like bitch slaps him down into the pavement, like a basketball. Like,
Uh-huh.
that is new, and it's my jaw dropped to the floor. It's that part was so great, but the dialogue, so much of it is just like from I could go frame by frame and say this is from this comic pane, this one's from this comic pane. It's so
Mhm.
accurate.
Yeah. One, and I will say too, the one thing, and I do agree with this, the criticism of this fight in this episode was made by the critic, and sorry if I'm saying this wrong, but Siddhant Adlaka, and he wrote the IGN review for the finale, and the criticism
Mm-hmm.
he made was that there is it is a season finale that functionally is not a culmination of like a relationship between characters throughout the season. It's this guy we just met, and we have a big punch down with this brand new character, and it does kind of feel. On the one hand, the point Siddhant is making, which I agree with, is like, oh, it's just a new guy's here and there's a big fight for the finale, whereas like we had a whole season of like Mark versus Cecil, the Invincible War, all
Mm-hmm.
these other conflicts that are not really at play in the finale. Um,
Yeah.
but what I do think it works as is it's like a, oh, now there's this to deal with, type of thing. You know what I mean? Where like the
Mm-hmm.
characters have just endured an apocalyptic event and they are not given the usual dramatic denouement, right, to deal with it
Mm-hmm.
and recover and move forward. It's like they are just starting to clean up, and then this fucking guy rolls
Yeah.
in, and it works for me on that front. I will say too, Invincible fans like ruthlessly harassed Saddam for this review, and anyone who did that is such a fucking loser. Like, it's so pathetic. Saddam's a
Yeah.
great critic, by the way. He has a lot of really insightful thoughts about film and TV. But I just wanted to point that out because I do agree
Cool.
that it is like, no, there's a new guy, and this is the finale. But also, that was why it worked for me. Was it just felt like, oh god, I have to deal with this now too. What the fuck? Like, I'm not ready. And
Yeah.
that's why it works dramatically for
Well, I
me.
totally get that, and I think, um, yeah, I agree. It works for me, but yeah, I totally see the criticism, and I think it's totally valid because,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like it, we get no context for who Conquest is until this episode. We just know that kind of some Viltrumite presence is coming. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Anissa warned us about it at the end of season 2. Like, there's a bigger,
Oh, okay,
badder
that's
guy
right.
coming than me,
Got
and
it.
he's gonna
Yeah.
fuck your shit up. So like,
Mm-hmm.
it was in the back of our minds somewhere in
Okay.
there, like, but we weren't really thinking about it. And then yeah, this guy just shows up out of the blue.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of like, yeah, you would expect more build up and more
Yeah.
like establishment first before introducing this character.
But I wonder if that's just a symptom of like different mediums too, because I could see this like not being a problem at all in a comic book, where it's like we have the Invincible War issues, and then there's the next issue where it's not like the end of a TV show season because they're
Mm-hmm.
dramatically structured differently, and maybe that's just a symptom of adaptation that doesn't click for everybody.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it probably is. But
Mm-hmm.
such a fun fight, such a great episode.
Oh yeah.
And we get this teaser at the end of the episode. If you stay past into the credits, Damien Darkblood tease for season 4. This, I have no idea what this is. This is a completely new storyline, kind of like what you were referencing earlier
Mm-hmm.
of them injecting new things in that weren't in the comics. Because yeah,
Yeah.
in the comics, Damien is I might have mentioned this in our last review. But Damien's just kind of treated as like a joke of a character. Like he's never whisked away to hell by Cecil. His whole kind of thing is just he continues to investigate the murders of the Guardians of the Globe for far too long, and eventually,
Oh, it's that guy. Okay,
everyone already
yeah,
knows. It's that guy.
Okay.
But yeah, everyone knows who killed the Guardians of the Globe, and then someone tells them like, "Yeah, we figured that out a while ago," and they just laugh at him, and he's just like never seen again in the comics.
That's awesome. That's a great joke, though. Yeah, and I did hear, I think Robert Kirkman said this is one of the storylines that was cut and that they're adding back in. So that will be fun to see where that goes. But yeah, any final thoughts on Invincible Season 3?
I can't wait for the next season. Probably going to reread some more of these comics later this week because now I've got Invincible fever. I'm going to go and rewatch Adam Eve. I swear to God, I'm going to do it this week.
Rewatch? What do you mean rewatch? You're going to watch it for the first time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're right. You got me.
All right. Yeah, no, I mean, same. Invincible Season 3. I really liked it. I like this show. I'm glad that it's back on a more regular cadence, at least. And I'm excited to see where it goes. Who knows? Maybe by next season, I'll have read the comics. Probably not, but we'll see. With that, though, let's get into some other stuff. Niles, what have you been up to since our last episode?
Not a whole lot of new stuff, but continuing on with White Lotus Season 3. We've only got one more episode left. It's coming up this Sunday, and I'm very intrigued to see how it all ends. Yeah, it's a very good season. I'm liking it a lot. And Season 17 of RuPaul's Drag Race is coming to a close very soon. We've probably got, 3 or 4 more episodes before the finale. And it's a good final group of, we got 5 queens left, and they're all pretty strong. I would say I like them a lot. Nice. I did branch out and watch a movie that I probably wouldn't normally watch. It was kind of an older movie from 1964, believe it or not, called "What a Way to Go," with Shirley MacLaine. And the best way to summarize this movie is to say that Shirley MacLaine has had a series of marriages with very with prominent actors of the time, but they've got these various roles, like one's like a performer, one's whatever, and she kind of inadvertently turns them into successes. Just like overnight, like she just like helps them, and then all of a sudden they're very rich and famous, and then all of a sudden they die. Like just randomly. She has nothing to do with their deaths, and they just leave her like a bunch of money, and over the course of the movie she just accumulates a ton of wealth. And the first scene in the movie, she just goes to like the IRS and she's like, "I would like to give you $200 million, please. I don't need this money." Kind of. So it's like, it's a very funny movie to just see how she got that money, the steps she took, and like it's very comical. I liked it a lot. 1964. It was very smart for the time. And then on occasion lately, we've been watching House Hunters International. Don't hate me. It's like funny. A stupid guilty pleasure show. And it's honestly kind of fun to just judge the decisions that other people are making about a house that they bought 5, 10, 15 years ago, and just be like, "You're an idiot. You should have gone with house number 2. What are you thinking?"
I know. Well, I used to watch HGTV growing up because my dad builds houses. We would watch it a lot. And yeah, it's so frustrating when you're like, "Guys, this is obviously the best house. What are you doing?" But the secret to a lot of those shows is that you the secret behind a lot of the shows is that they have to own a house to be on the show. They have to have bought something. I don't know if House Hunters was like that, but like the houses they pick at the beginning of a lot of shows, like that choice is predetermined because they already own it.
Yes. I've heard that too. Yeah. Where they've already like selected a house, they put the offer in, and then they're like, "Oh, we need something for the show and we'll give you some money. So
Exactly.
here, select
Yeah.
2 other houses and tour them.
Right. And it's like they do make allowances, I think, in those shows where it's like if they actually do like one of the other ones better, they'll like put the other one on the market and buy the new one. But for the most part, they go with the house they'd already bought. It's just it makes for better
Yeah,
TV.
exactly.
That first act where it's the
Mm-hmm.
decision. But yeah, what I've
Mm-hmm.
been up to, been continuing on with Dragon Age:
What
The
have you been
Veil.
up to?
Yeah, playing Dragon Age: The Veil Guard still. Fun game, enjoying it a lot. And then I also went and saw the new Steven Soderbergh movie Black Bag, starring Michael Fassbender and Kate Blanchett. Really fun spy movie. It's the premise, the kickoff premise is sort of they both work for the same spy agency, but they like the missions and everything are like compartmentalized. So not everybody knows everything. So it's like they have this built-in thing. It's like, oh, where are you going over this weekend? Oh, Black Bag. Can't tell you. It's a secret. And then, but basically, it's like something is being stolen from the agency. And Michael Fassbender is on the case of figuring out who it is. And one of the suspected people is Kate Blanchett, who is his wife. And so it's I won't spoil any more of the movie, but it is very much like sort of a cat and mouse game of deception. Lots of really sharp dialogue scenes. It's really good. I'd kind of recommend it to anybody, and it's only like an hour and a half. It's really tight. I also got and have started playing Assassin's Creed Shadows, the latest Assassin's Creed game set in Japan, where you play as 2 characters, a samurai Yasuke, based on a real-life historical figure for the first time in the franchise, I think. He was, I believe, the first black samurai. And then you also have Nawe, who's the more shinobi, traditional Assassin's Creed protagonist. I'm liking it so far. I kind of... the newer era of Assassin's Creeds have not been my favorite. Origins was fine, even though I think it had the wrong protagonist. I think the wife of the protagonist would have been a better main character for that game. And then Odyssey, I couldn't finish. They're just too big. They're too huge, and I'm too old for a game big. And this one will end up being the same. But I'm liking it so far, and I will say, like, I don't know if you've played any modern Ubisoft games, but they're doing this narrative
It's
thing.
been a while.
Yeah, they're doing this narrative thing where, like, and it's in the interest of player freedom, where it's like, oh, you can assassinate any of the main targets in whatever order you want, which in theory makes for a more open and free experience. But what the unfortunate side effect of it is, you can't have your narrative progress. You can't have your characters progress and grow from kill to kill because you don't know which order the player is doing them in. So the main characters end up being static for like a big chunk of the game. And apparently it really picks up and gets amazing in the last 5 hours. And it was the kind of the same thing in that Star Wars Outlaws game, which I liked a lot. But it's a weird storytelling and structure decision that Ubisoft keeps making, and that people are like, guys, you got to stop. It's ruining your games. Stop it.
Yeah.
Hopefully they learn. But the gameplay is really slick. It's fun to like sneak around as a little ninja in the Japanese castle, like take out the guards and stuff like that. I've also been reading. I've finished the Sherlock Holmes stories I was reading, and I've started reading Pirate Latitudes by Michael Crichton. Michael Crichton's name might sound familiar because he wrote the book Jurassic Park, and this story is this story is about like so far it's about like the governors and privateers of Port Royal in the Caribbean, and looks like they're gearing up to like go try to steal some Spanish treasure. I don't know what the actual story of the book is going to be about yet. I'm still very early on, but it seems like just historical fiction set in Port Royal, which is the location from Pirates of the Caribbean too, where Elizabeth Swann is from. But and
Cool.
lastly, yeah, it's cool so far. But lastly, I have been watching Severance. Finally, I watched the whole first season, and I'm halfway through season 2. The show's amazing. I can't believe I
Hell
sat
yeah.
on it for years and didn't watch it, but I'm here now, and it's great. It was hyped. I love it.
It's so great. I love that show. We need to rewatch season 1 so we can watch season 2 because I do want to talk about that show because it's so amazing.
Yeah, it's really great. But I think that is going to be the show for this week. We'll be back next time. I think we're going to talk about Sinners, the new Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld movie by Ryan Coogler, which looks awesome. So we'll be back in about 2 weeks for that. Until then, Niles, where can people find you online?
You can follow me on Instagram at Niles Got No Styles. What about you, Dylan? Where can people follow you online?
On Instagram at DylanD1026, on Twitter at DDay Movies, on YouTube at DDay Movies, and you can find both of us here at Play Pause Rewind on your podcast platform of choice, as well as on YouTube. We're also on our second channel, Play Pause Rewind Videos, and we'll have a very exciting video coming out there for Star Wars Day, where we are doing our full review of the Star Wars sequel trilogy. So we need to watch those movies again. So we're going to do that very soon.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if y'all who don't make YouTube videos know this, but editing videos that tend to be 2 hours long takes a lot more than 2 hours. It takes many. So we'll see you guys.
More to come.
Yeah, more to come. We got a lot of exciting stuff coming up. Sinners, Andor's coming back soon. Superman's coming out. Thunderbolts. It's gonna be a good year, I think. Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. I'm excited. It's gonna be a good year.
Oh, it's gonna be great. So much. It's
gonna be
so much
great.
good shit
It's
to
gonna be
look
great.
forward to.
All right.
It's gonna be great. Thank you guys for listening so much.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Share with your friends. See y'all next time. Goodbye.
Bye.